All right, well, that will do it for Foul or Flop for this week, and we will move on to our top five list. As this week we are breaking down our top five NBA shooting guards, and again, we'll start at five and go around and go in descending order. So, Logan, who you got for number five?
Yeah, so I had a bit of a hard time. Some people judge shooting guards different based on who plays what position, but based off of my definition of a shooting guard and who I consider to be shooting guards, my number five shooting guard is Alex Caruso. Um, I think that he is the piece of that Thunder team that kind of took them over the edge this year and was that defining one of those defining factors in the NBA Finals. Just an absolute dog, an all-out scrapper, can guard 1 through 5. We saw that when he was guarding Jokic, and I think that that is enough to get him the number 5 spot on my list. Now, is that a bit of a homer pick? Absolutely, it is. But there's he's one of the most fun players to watch and does all the little things right. And you know what? If I see him spotting up for a corner three and he's open, it's probably going to go in. So I got to give him his credit here at 5.
As a Pacers fan, I can confirm that statement. Yeah, I did honestly. He wasn't in the process for me, but I will absolutely not throw any shade to Alex Caruso at number 5. As usual, I have my honorable mentions. I just like throwing these out there. Tyler Hero, Amen Thompson, somebody that I don't know if he's necessarily going to end up being a shooting guard. He was technically a shooting guard, but that's just the beauty of positionless ball. If he stays as technically a shooting guard, then he could be on this list. It's kind of iffy, but just somebody who I think is going to definitely rise the ranks that I thought I'd mention. And then Derek White, because he's honestly, like Alex Caruso, just a dog. At number 5, though, I have Jalen Williams. Already solidified himself as probably the second best two-way shooting guard, maybe even the best two-way shooting guard in the NBA in just year 3. He has the NBA Finals trophy, as Logan knows. Second best player on that team, and really the X factor of that team. Logan's smiling at it. I can't take this. Maintained his production throughout the playoffs and even raised the level of his game in the finals with 23 points per game, and just being a thorn in my Pacers side throughout that series. It's impressive the level that J-Dub has reached so far, just 3 years in. He's got an all-star game, all-NBA third team, seemingly the Scotty DeShay's MJ, honestly. I don't know if we can start saying that. It was, I don't want to say it, but probably a Thunder dynasty. I'm not saying 3-peat. I'm just saying dynasty. The only thing that I would say in the future would hold him from getting super high on this list is the fact that he is the second best player on the team. That helps him with his efficiency stats and stuff like that, and keeps him at a lower points per game outage and whatnot. So he's not asked to do as much as these other guys are. So naturally, I'm not going to put him above those guys, but defensively wise, he's maybe the best player on this team, or best player on this list. And I got him in at number 5 with the probability of getting higher by next year.
Logan, your response really quick.
Yeah, I just want to let everyone know, as big of a J-Dub fan as I am, I actually don't consider him to be a shooting guard. I mean, he plays predominantly power forward. So that's kind of where I have him sitting. I have him sitting at the 3 or the 4, just based on how the Thunder usually work those lineups around. But if I was considering him a shooting guard, he'd definitely be on this list, probably a little higher than 5. Yeah, I guess I agree with you on the Derek White thing, though. He's also one of my honorable mentions. Similar player to Alex Caruso in hairstyle and play style.
Oh, well, yeah. Derek White did not make my list because I consider him a point guard, but that may be just me. Kyrie also does not make my list because I consider him a point guard as well. I think everybody does, but I saw him listed online as a shooting guard, and I was like, that doesn't seem right. So he's not on my list here. But anyways, bit of a homer pick for me at number 5. Give me Austin Reeves, an electric scorer. And can go up in the standings if his defense improves, because is that part of his game pretty bad? For sure. But the offense is great. Averaged 20 points per game last season and has shot 37% or better from deep the last 3 seasons. And he's never shot worse than 46% overall. And as much as he is a scorer, he can be an elite passer as well. He can run the point guard position if he needs to. Uh, but he's averaged 5 assists or more the last 2 seasons. So that is really impressive how he has improved in that part of his game as well. So for me, he is number 5. Logan, who you got at number 4?
So at number 4, it's another one. Like I feel like my list is just comprised of players who could be listed as really anything, because Austin Reeves was also on the outside looking in for my list. But my number 4 is Tyler Hero. I think that Tyler Hero doesn't get necessarily the amount of love he deserves for what he does, which is pretty much a new thing every year. With the Miami Heat, they kind of just thrust him into a new role every season, and he just goes into it and plays it well. Whether it was being the sixth man, whether it was being the starting, I guess, 1 or 2, it's really depends on how they construct the roster every year, but he does his job and he does it well, and he's been a really consistent piece in Miami when consistency has been hard to find at times. And I think he was showing signs of greatness in the bubble, going toe-to-toe with LeBron in the finals. And then to now, to seeing him like mature and grow into one of the league's premier shooters, one of the league's premier scorers. I think Tyler Hero's legacy is going to be defined as just the guy that did what he was asked and stepped up to the role he needed to. So for that, he gets number 4 on my list.
Colton?
All right, number 4, I got Jaylen Brown, another second option guy, but a really good two-way player. You have the opportunity to shut me up this season because he will be the number 1 option going into this year. That being said, is technically he could be considered a small forward. It's just a position. It's like you said, like everybody could really plays, has a lot of different hats. So I found it hard to really like narrow down who's a shooting guard, who's not. So I really just went based off of what I looked at lineups and looked at some of the just what Basketball Reference had for me. But this is the only other champion on my list. He has a Finals MVP at that. Also a Eastern Conference Finals MVP. I guess that's something we need to start mentioning in these conversations. But only 1 All-NBA selection in 2023, 4 All-Stars on that. Not a bad resume at the age of 28. We're about to learn a lot about Jaylen Brown, though, this season. It'll be interesting. I wouldn't say there's a lot of pressure for him to win games. I mean, there is because he's at Boston. But for me personally, I don't expect that team to – I expect them to probably be a playoff team just because of how weak the East is. But especially with the moves that were made, getting rid of Porzingis and amongst other things, I don't expect that team to do very well, but I'm very curious what Jaylen Brown looks like as the number 1 option on a team. We've seen it time to time when Tatum's been out, but this is going to be the first full sample size we get of that, and I think it'll be very interesting to follow.
I completely agree. I also have Jaylen Brown at number 4, so I won't repeat a bunch of those things that Colton just said for the sake of time, but I am very excited about how he looks as the first option. Does he play more all-around basketball, or does he just become somebody who tries to just specifically score the ball and maybe go for a scoring championship this year? Those are things I'm looking forward to this season, but he's averaged 20-plus points per game since the bubble and a steal per game since then as well. So he can do it on both sides, and obviously why he's passed Austin Reeves on this list. Because he can play defense. But anyways, a great rebounder for his position. 5 or more rebounds per game since the bubble as well. So he can pretty much do it all. Maybe a little underrated because of how good Jason Tatum is and the questionable fit that it was for the first couple of years there in Boston. But I think after a championship, there's really no other questions now about how great of a fit he is for this and this team. And I'm excited to see how he goes as the number 1 option. Logan, who you got number 3?
Yeah, number 3. First off, I also want to mention that Jaylen Brown won't be on my list because, like we've kind of said, some of these positions are a bit just kind of toss-ups as to where people play. I consider Jaylen Brown to be a 3, but I can understand why people consider him a 2 as well. He's another one of those guys that plays the fluid game to where it really is positionless. But my number 3 is Donovan Mitchell. I have him sitting at the 3. His regular season numbers, when you look at them, they may not jump right out to you, but the reason I have him number 3 is just the level of elevation that he takes when it gets to the playoffs. He is, I would consider right now in the NBA, this may be crazy, he's the biggest playoff riser in the NBA.
No, I was thinking the same thing.
For sure.
I think that he elevates his game the most already from being a superstar to just an absolute another level the second he hits the playoffs. It's something you're consistently getting even from his days at Utah when he was a rookie, knocking out the OK 3. That was a horrible series, by the way, but we didn't talk about that. Donovan Mitchell is what is arguably one of the best playoff performers right now, and I'd be willing to say all time. He is one of the most consistent guys who get in the playoffs, and I think his regular season numbers combined with his playoff numbers can get him right here at number 3.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that his teammates don't really seem to be playoff risers, but he does. So It kind of hurts his legacy there. But anyways, Colton.
Yeah, no doubt. I'll get to that in a little bit, but at first I got Devin Booker at my number 3 spot. You could really interchange 3 or 2 for me, but I went D-Book here. One of the lists I was looking at in this research had him at number 5, which just really, I about fell to my knees. Like, there's nice that he's number 1, I think, on this list, but consistently, that's what we're going for here. And it's just kind of the complete mismanagement that his situation in Phoenix has been, and has put just a real damper on what should be really a Hall of Fame career if he ends up at the right place. In 2023, the last season with Chris Paul, he averaged 27 points per game, shot almost 50% from the field, a season he did not get an All-Star or All-NBA mention. And since Paul has gone elsewhere, he's had to take that point guard role, which has caused him, like, he's a good point guard, but that's not his natural position. He's getting better at it. He got better at it, but it's just not something that he needs to do. And I have him at shooting guard because he's listed at shooting guard. He played more shooting guard because they got Tyus Jones. Jones, right? Tyus Jones last season. So thankfully he got back into that role. But, I mean, it still has just damaged his reputation. Like I said, the mismanagement of his time in Phoenix, and hopefully not too much longer time, but and just combined with the bag of chips that's been around him with KD and eventually Bradley Beal, which he's some of the bag of chips, to be honest, but they're kind of expected to win because you got D-Book, you got KD on the same team, but in reality, they really have no business winning. And all I will end on is #FreeBook.
Real. Well, I also have the Kentucky Wildcat Devin Booker at number 3. One of the best scorers in the league, 4-time All-Star, all in a row, by the way. Very impressive. Hard to do. 2-time All-NBA, as Golden mentioned, should be more. 3-point champion. And, he's just the youngest Phoenix Sun to score 70 points in a game. So that's kind of impressive, too.
Solid stuff.
He's averaged 25-plus points per game since 2018. Not known as a passer, but as Colton talked about, has had to do that. Averaged 5-plus assists 6 times in his career. So for somebody who only shoots the ball, he passes it pretty well.
No kidding.
My only gripe is, and I guess, Colton, you make a good point, this could be things that are around him and Phoenix organization really just being terrible. But I feel Devin Booker hasn't really impacted winning in that much of a way. They've made it to the finals, but I really credit a lot of that to Chris Paul and the way DeAndre Ayton was playing just as much as Devin Booker. He deserves a mention for sure in that season, but I just don't feel like he's impacted winning as much as the people I have above him, and that's why he's at number 3 instead of number 2 for me.
That's fair.
So, Logan, who you got at number 2?
Well, my number 2 is actually the guy that you guys just spent that time talking about. I have it as Devin Booker. And what I want to talk about is the tragedy that has just become the career of Devin Booker. Like you said, he's one of the best scorers in the NBA, super consistent year in and year out, despite what Matt Ishbia throws at him every single year now. Roster new construction, new game plan every single year. Like he just spent the last few years trying to adjust to having KD, and then they throw Bradley Beal in the mix. Now they're both gone, and he has to adjust to his backcourt mate being Jalen Green. So it's been something new every single year, and he has taken it in stride and not complained and just went out there and hooped. And I think what speaks to that the most is his performance at the Olympic Games in 2024 when he was on the Olympic team. And they needed some players to step up and do the dirty work. And he knew that on a team with LeBron, Steph Curry, and KD, he wasn't going to be the primary scorer on that team. So he went up there and he did all the dirty work over there in Paris. And he really was the unsung hero of that Olympic team. I'll die on that hill. And without him, I think that gold medal game gets a lot harder. So Devin Booker, I'm always going to give him his flowers. He's one of my favorite players of all time. But I think that NBA history won't be looking at him too fondly in his legacy just because of the disrespect that has been given to him. Not enough All-Stars, not enough All-NBAs, and not a good team built around him. And that I don't think that's his fault. And I really do hope he gets out of Phoenix one day and gets into a situation that can help him impact winning, because he can't do it all by himself. If you get him the right roster construction, I think Devin Booker could be a focal point on a championship team.
And Devin Booker's been disrespected since college, but that could be a whole other rant for another day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that was a really great point on the Olympics, Logan. You look at the difference between Tatum's Olympic experience, which is what we're doing right now, sitting, and the experience of Devin Booker. And that comes a lot about the mentality and, just letting the pride and the ego aside and focusing on winning. And, he's tried to do that. Unfortunately, the people around him, the organization around him, largely has not shared that sentiment. But I'll go ahead and go to my number 2, which is Donovan Mitchell. Like I said, you can swap Mitchell and Booker. I have no quarrel with that. But Mitchell is just one of those players that, like, I remember his time in Louisville, and then it's come up early in the NBA, and it's just crazy that, like, how good he is, the best playoff riser in the NBA right now, and definitely an all-time playoff riser. And he's on the best player on the best team in the East last season, which was still not like that impressive, the best team in the East, but it was somewhat impressive. There was other teams that were decent, but he saw a dip in his counting stats that year. Like you said, they didn't jump out of the page. Then we get to the playoffs, and his team flopped around him, as they have every playoffs he's been in. However, he jumped to 29.6 points per game and also snagging 2 steals per contest throughout the 10 games he played. He might be and like I said, I put this in my notes, but yeah, I said he's probably the best playoff riser in the league. And it just is unfortunate that the team around him seems to have the opposite effect when it comes to playoff time, regardless of where he is at. But still, he was a top 5 in MVP voting for the second time in his career. He was that finalist, all NBA first team to go along with his second team in 2023. He's also got his 6th All-Star selection last year. One of my favorite players to watch, especially when he takes over a game. No better feeling in the world to watch him do that. And I just wish there was some way he could get some more playoff success, because it's not necessarily that the organizations aren't putting good teams around him like D Book, but it is getting to a point where, D Book even has more to show than Donovan Mitchell in terms of playoffs. But it's pretty easy to say that Donovan Mitchell is a much better playoff performer than that of D Book. So, but all he has to show for it is a semifinals. Like, I don't think he's ever made it to a conference finals, because that one year they collapsed against the Clippers of all teams. So, yet to make a conference finals, and one of the best playoff performers of all time. It's just a really weird dynamic. That's not Mitchell's fault, but something that in 10 years I definitely would see, if he's not able to flip it around, could be a talking point over his legacy.
Completely agree. My number 2 is also Donovan Mitchell. Again, they are interchangeable, really. The 2018 dunk champion, and made the All-Rookie team that same year. So a pretty impressive introduction to the league there.
Pretty solid.
He scored 71, so I guess another reason that he edged out Booker here. and he also doesn't say
just
no.
by 1 point.
He also doesn't say no double team in a pickup basketball. But anyways, he impacts winning, made the Jazz and the Cavs relevant, especially post LeBron. Something that was very difficult to do. Many tried and many failed. Averaged 24 plus points per game in every year, but his rookie year, where he had a decent, I guess, 21. Again, another great introduction to the league. Uh, he shot at least 30% from three. Uh, 33% from three his whole career, and 4 assists per game and 4 rebounds per game at least every year. Most years it's way above that, but those have been his floors, and that just speaks to kind of impact he makes both in the regular season and the playoffs. So he's number 2 for me. Logan, who do you have at your number 1?
My number 1 shooting guard in the league. I feel like this is should be a fairly consensus pick is Anthony Edwards. He is a player whose ceiling seems limitless at the moment, unless you are talking about his 3-point shooting in the Western Conference Finals. But and you have the best defense, arguably ever, guarding you. That would be a pretty tough task for anyone. But my thing with Anthony Edwards is he just consistently gets better as a scorer every year and is establishing himself as a top-tier shooter in the NBA, and he will be for years to come. And he is not afraid to pull up from three. He is going to, 8-9 times a game, and he's going to nail it at a pretty solid clip. So he's already established himself as a scorer and a shooter. Now, the only thing that's really lacking from his game is becoming a lockdown defender. And if he can do that, like the sky is literally the limit for Anthony Edwards and what he can become. I see a lot of all NBAs in this man's future, and I see a lot of all-stars, and I probably an MVP or two somewhere along down the line if his teams can, get a little bit more wins in the regular season, because apparently that matters so much. But Anthony Edwards gets the number 1 spot for me, and I think it's going to be this way for a while.
Cool.
Yeah, number 1 for me is actually Aaron Nesmith. No, I'm just playing. Anthony Edwards. To your point, Logan, he took 4 more threes a game last season than he did the year prior, and saw an increase by 4% in his shooting. That's unheard of, really. He also shot nearly 40% from three last year, despite taking that leap in attempts. And he averaged 28 points a game accordingly, which was 2%, or not 2%, but 2 points higher than the year prior. So I think he has another gear in him. I think we might be looking at a 30 points per game season from Anthony Edwards this year, because he's established himself as one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. And we already know he's good at getting to the basket. So now if he just puts those together, I mean, he could be literally the most unguardable player. I mean, he already is one of the most, but he literally could become the most unguardable player in the NBA if he can kind of combine those. That's the only thing when I watched him this year, it was like all threes. I think he literally attempted the same amount of threes as twos. I think you should have a healthy diet of both, and that's what could really make him. And if he does that, I think he averages 30 points a game. I think he becomes an MVP candidate. His team's got to win more games, so I think they will if he does that. And yeah, I think he can absolutely take another step. To your point on his defense, I think there's no doubt he can become a elite defender. He's got the tools. He's got everything to do that. But it's a matter of him becoming that. And it's going to take learning. It's going to take effort. I think that's a lot of it sometimes. And if he can do that and become that, yeah, MVPs for sure will be in his future. And I don't know about championships, because seeing Minnesota Timberwolves win a championship seems weird, but I think Anthony Edwards could be the guy to absolutely make that happen. So best shooting guard in the league, and I think he still has way more ceiling to go, honestly.
Yeah, I think you could make an argument of who is a shooting guard, who isn't, or who may be in the top 5, but I don't think there's any argument that Anthony Edwards is number 1. He tops my list as well. Number 1 pick in 2020, all rookie team that year as well. So he's delivered. Not a bust. Leading scorer on the 2023 FIBA World Cup team, and an Olympic gold medalist with the 2024 team, and took the Timberwolves to their first Western Conference Finals in 20 years. So you could say he impacts winning just a little bit. Not to mention, elite actor, Hustle, masterpiece, masterpiece. But seriously, he just seems to have that killer instinct that puts him at the top of this list, where he looks at guys across the court, like I don't know, Kevin Durant and Nikola Jokic, and basically says, "I'm better than you, and I'm going to prove I'm better than you," and did it in that crazy playoff run that they had. So, uh, just that killer instinct is something that I feel like he has much more of than any of these guys on the list, to where it's just supreme confidence that he's going to be the best guy on the floor night in and night out, and he'll let you know about it too. I love a good trash talker, especially when they can back it up. So that honestly helps him make it to the top of my list.
I would also argue he's probably the only one on the list, maybe Mitchell, but you can make an argument that he's really the only one that's a pure shooting guard, right? Like, sure, he can pass the ball a bit, but he's not nowhere close to a point guard. So I would say he's really like maybe the last pure shooting guard that is at this level. Like he definitely reminds me of like Dwayne Wade kind of levels of scoring. Better 3-pointer though.
For sure.